Hey guys, it's Miss Labodine here with another reading of Wonder. This is video number 17, so we are almost done. If you look here, we honestly don't even have that much left, so that's awesome. I really like this book, so I'm excited to finish it to see how it ends, but I'll be sad once it's over. That's how I usually am. But anyway, in last video, we read part 6, or we read the second half of part 6, which was all in Auggie's perspective or his point of view. So just some of the things that happened, I'll just do a brief recap. So they lost their dog. What's the name of the dog? Daisy? I might be wrong. It's been a while for me. It's been a couple days since I've read it because I've been out at the lake. They lost their dog, Daisy. I'm pretty sure that's her name. And it was a really, really sad part because she was limping and biting and doing things that totally weren't her, and they ended up having to put her down because she was very sick. So that was really sad. And then we got to a bit of a happier part, which was Via's school play. So Via was the understudy for Miranda. So that meant that if something happened to Miranda, who was the main character, Via would take her place. And of course, something happened to Miranda and Via had to take her place. So we don't really know exactly why Miranda didn't show up to the play. I think they said she was sick. Winnie, quiet. I think they said that she was sick, but is that really true? We know Miranda's been acting a little strange, so who knows if that was exactly true. I think we will be finding out though. And Via had an amazing play. She was the star of the show. She did amazing. And for the first time in a while, everything was about Via. Everyone was looking at her, listening to her. It was all about her. And we know from her part, which was way at the beginning of the book, Via doesn't usually get that feeling. It's usually about Auggie and not about her. So I think this was a really special moment for Via. Auggie and Via's parents were both there. Her boyfriend Justin was also in the play, and it was just a really special moment for her. And at the end, she runs into Miranda. So we are now entering part 7, which is Miranda. So we're learning all about Miranda, and maybe we'll figure out what's going on with her, because we know she's like a completely different person than Via had described before. So maybe we'll find out what's the matter with her, what's going on that's causing her to act this way. I'm definitely curious about Miranda, so that's where I'll be starting. So again, that is page 7, or sorry, part 7, and it is page 236, and it starts on the chapter Camp Lies. My parents got divorced the summer before 9th grade. My father was with someone else right away. In fact, though my mother never said so, I think this was the reason they got divorced. After the divorce, I hardly ever saw my father, and my mother acted stranger than ever. It's not that she was unstable or anything, just distant, remote. My mother is the kind of person who has a happy face for the rest of the world, but not a lot left over for me. She never talked to me much. Not about her feelings, her life. I don't know much about what she was like when she was my age. Don't know much about the things she liked or didn't like. The few times she mentioned her own parents, who I never met, it was mostly about how she wanted to get as far away from them as she could once she'd grown up. She never told me why. I asked a few times, but she would pretend she hadn't heard me. I didn't want to go to camp that summer. I wanted to stay with her, to help her through the divorce, but she insisted I go anyway. I figured she wanted some alone time, so I gave it to her. Camp was awful. I hated it. I thought it would be better being a junior counselor, but it wasn't. No one I knew from the previous year had come back, so I didn't know anyone, not a single person. I'm not even sure why, but I started playing this little make-believe game with the girls in the camp. They'd ask me stuff about myself, and I'd make things up. My parents are in Europe, I told them. I live in a huge townhouse on the nicest street in North River Heights. I told them I had a dog named Daisy. Then one day I blurted out that I had a little brother who was deformed. I have absolutely no idea why I said this. It just seemed like an interesting thing to say. And of course, the reaction I got from the little girls in the bungalow was dramatic. Really? So sorry, that must be tough, etc., etc. I regretted saying this the moment it escaped from my lips, of course. I felt like such a fake. If Via ever found out, I thought, she'd think I was such a weirdo, and I felt like a weirdo. But I have to admit, there was a part of me that felt a little entitled to this lie. I've known Auggie since I was 6 years old. I watched him grow up. I've played with him. I've watched all 6 episodes of Star Wars for his sake, so I could talk to him about the aliens and the bounty hunters and all that. I'm the one that gave him the astronaut helmet he wouldn't take off for 2 years. I mean, I've kind of earned the right to think of him as my brother. And the strangest thing is that all these lies I told, these fictions, did wonders for my popularity. The other junior counselors heard it from the campers, and they were all over it. Never in my life had I been considered one of the popular girls in anything. But that summer in camp, for whatever reason, I was the girl everyone wanted to hang out with. Even the girls in Bungalow 32 were totally into me. These were the girls at the top of the food chain. They said they liked my hair, though they changed it. They said they liked the way I did my makeup, though they changed that too. They showed me how to turn my t-shirts into halter tops. We smoked. We snuck out late at night and took the path to the boys' camp. We hung out with boys. When I got home from camp, I called Ella right away to make plans with her. I don't know why I didn't call Via. I guess I just didn't feel like talking about that stuff with her. She would have asked me about my parents, about camp. Ella never really asked me about things. She was an easier friend to have in that way. She wasn't serious like Via. She was fun. She thought it was cool when I dyed my hair pink. She wanted to hear all about those trips through the woods late at night. Okay, so that's the end of that chapter. So kind of my question from that chapter is, Miranda said that she earned the right to say that Auggie was her brother. Do you agree with that? Do you think she really earned the right? Because we know that Via did not have an easy time growing up with Auggie. She still doesn't. She still struggles. She's always looked at. She's known as the girl with the brother who's deformed. So can Miranda really say that she has the right to say that's her brother? I don't personally think she went through a fraction of what Via has gone through. So I don't personally think she has any right to say that. But maybe you think otherwise. She was very close with Auggie, so maybe she does. I think that was an odd thing of her to say. And in terms of her parents getting divorced and her mother acting kind of distant and all that, do you think that has anything to do with Via? I probably think that it does, so who knows? The next chapter is titled School, and it is on page 239. I hardly saw Via at school this year, and when I did, it was awkward. I felt like she was judging me. I knew she didn't like my new look. I knew she didn't like my group of friends. I didn't like hers anyway. We never actually argued. We just drifted away. Ella and I badmouthed her to each other. She's a prude. She's so this, she's so that. We knew we were being mean. But it was easier to ice her out if we pretended she had done something wrong. The truth is, she hadn't changed at all. We had. We'd become this to other people, and she was still the person she'd always been. That annoyed me so much, and I didn't know why. Once in a while, I'd look to see where she was sitting in the lunchroom, or check the electives list to check what she'd signed up for. But except for a few nods in the hallway and an occasional hello, we never really spoke to each other. I noticed Justin about halfway through the school year. I hadn't noticed him at all before then. And that he was this skinny, cutish dude with thick glasses and long hair who carried a violin everywhere. Then one day I saw him in front of the school with his arm around Via. So Via has a boyfriend, I said to Ella, kind of mocking. I don't know why it surprised me that she had a boyfriend. Out of the 3 of us, she was totally the prettiest. Blue eyes and long wavy dark hair, but she'd never acted like she was at all interested in boys. She acted like she was too smart for that kind of stuff. I had a boyfriend too, a guy named Zach. When I told him I was choosing the theater elective, he shook his head and said, "Careful you don't turn into one of those drama geeks." Not the most sympathetic dude in the world, but very cute. Very high up on the totem pole, a varsity jock. I wasn't planning on taking theater at first. Then I saw Via's name on the sign-up sheet, and I just wrote my name down on the list too. I don't even know why. We managed to avoid one another throughout most of the semester, like we didn't even know each other. Then one day I got to theater class a little early, and Davenport asked me to run off the additional copies of the play he was planning on having us doing for the spring production, The Elephant Man. I heard about it, but I didn't really know what it was about, so I started skimming through the pages while I was waiting for the machine. It was about a man who lived more than 100 years ago named John Merrick, who was terribly deformed. "We can't do this play, Mr. D," I told him when I got back to class, and I told him why. "My little brother has a birth defect and has a deformed face, and this play would hit too close to home." He seemed annoyed and a little unsympathetic, but I kind of said that my parents would have a real issue with the school doing this play. So anyway, we ended up switching it to our town. I think I went for the role of Emily Gibbs because I knew Via was going to go for it too. It never occurred to me that I'd beat her for the role. Okay, so she immediately told the music teacher, Mr. D, that they can't do Elephant Man because she has a deformed brother. So she is still going with the story that Auggie is her brother, even to the people at the school. So I think that's a little bit strange. What do you think about that part? Do you think she was being sympathetic and sincere to Via? Like, no, we can't do that. I don't want to hurt Via's feelings. Or was she just making it about her again? I'm not too sure about that part yet. And she went for a role specifically because she thought Via was going to go for that role. So why did she do that? You probably saw Winnie running back there. Next chapter is called What I Miss the Most, and it is on page 241. One of the things I miss the most about Via's friendship is her family. I loved her mom and dad. They were always so welcoming and nice to me. I knew they loved their kids more than anything in the world. I always felt safe around them, safer than anywhere else in the world. How pathetic that I felt safer in someone else's house than my own, right? And of course I loved Auggie. I was never afraid of him, even when I was little. I had friends that couldn't believe I would ever go to Via's house. His face creeps me out, they'd say. You're stupid, I'd tell them. Auggie's face isn't so bad once you get used to it. I called Via's house once to say hello to Auggie. Maybe part of me was hoping Via would answer. I don't know. "Hey, Major Tom," I said, using my nickname for him. "Miranda!" He sounded so happy to hear my voice it actually took me by surprise. "I'm going to a regular school now," he told me really excitedly. "Really? Wow," I said, totally shocked. I guess I never thought he'd go to a regular school. His parents have always been so protective of him. I guess I thought he'd always be that kid in the astronaut helmet I gave him. Talking to him, I could tell that he had no idea that Via and I weren't close anymore. "It's different in high school," I explained to him. "You end up hanging out with loads of different people. I have some friends in my new school," he told me. "A kid named Jack and a girl named Summer." "That's awesome, Auggie," I said. "Well, I was just calling to tell you I miss you and I hope you're having a good year. Feel free to call me whenever you want, Auggie, okay? You know I love you always. I love you too, Miranda. Say hi to Via for me. Tell her I miss her." "I will. Bye." Bye. Okay, next chapter is on page 243, and it is called Extraordinary, but No One There to See. Neither my mom nor my father could see the play on opening night. My mother because she had this thing at work, and my dad because he had his new wife was going to have another baby any second now, and he had to be on call. Zach couldn't come to opening night either. He had a volleyball game against Collegiate he couldn't miss. In fact, he had wanted me to miss the opening night so I could come cheer him on. My friends all went to the game, of course, because all their boyfriends were playing. Even Ella didn't come. Given the choice, she chose the crowd. So on opening night, no one was remotely close to me. No one that was there was remotely close to me. And the thing is, I realized in my third or fourth rehearsal that I was good at this acting thing. I felt the part. I understood the words I spoke. I could read the lines as if they were coming from my brain and from my heart. And on opening night, I can honestly say I was going to be more than good. I was going to be great. I was going to be extraordinary. But there would be no one there to see. We were all backstage, nervously running through our lines in our heads. I peeked through the curtain at the people taking their seats in the auditorium. That's when I saw Auggie walking down the aisle with Isabel and Nate. They took their seats in the 5th row near the middle. Auggie was wearing a nice bow tie, looking around excitedly. He had grown up a bit nice since I'd last seen him, almost a year ago. His hair was shorter. He was wearing some kind of hearing aid now. His face hadn't changed a bit. Davenport was running through the last-minute changes with the set director. I saw Justin pacing off the left stage, mumbling his lines nervously. "Mr. Davenport," I said, surprising myself as I spoke. "I'm sorry, but I can't go on tonight." Davenport turned around slowly. "What?" he said. "I'm sorry. Are you kidding?" I muttered, looking down. "I don't feel well. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm going to throw up." This was a lie. "It's just last-minute jitters." "No, I can't do this, I'm telling you." Davenport looked furious. "Miranda, this is outrageous." "I'm sorry." Davenport took a deep breath, like he was trying to restrain himself. To be truthful, I thought he looked like he was going to explode. His forehead turned bright pink. "Miranda, this is absolutely unacceptable. Now go take a few breaths and—" "I'm not going on," I said loudly, and the tears came easily to my eyes. "Fine," he screamed, not looking at me. Then he turned to a kid named David, who was the set director. "Go find Olivia in the lightning booth. Tell her she's filling in for Miranda tonight." "What?" said David, who wasn't too swift. "Go!" Davenport shouted in his face. "Now!" The other kids who had caught on to what was happening gathered around. "What's going on?" said Justin. "Last-minute change of plans," said Davenport. "Miranda doesn't feel well." "I feel sick," I said, trying to sound sick. "So why are you still here?" Davenport said to me angrily. "Stop talking. Take off your costume and give it to Olivia, okay? Come on, everyone. Let's go. Go, go, go." I ran backstage to the dressing room as quickly as I could, and I started peeling off my costume. 2 seconds later, there was a knock, and Via half opened the door. "What's going on?" she said. "Hurry, put it on," I answered, handing her the dress. "You're sick?" "Yeah, hurry up." Via, looking stunned, took off her t-shirt and jeans and pulled the long dress over her head. I pulled it down for her and then zipped up the back. Luckily, Emily Webb didn't go on until 10 minutes into the play, so the girl handling her hair and makeup had time to put Via's hair up in a twist and do the quick makeup job. I had never seen Via with a lot of makeup on. She looked like a model. "I'm not even sure I'll remember my lines," Via said, looking at herself in the mirror. "Your lines. You'll do great," I said. She looked at me in the mirror. "Why are you doing this, Miranda?" "Olivia!" It was Davenport, hush shouting from the door. "You're on in 2 minutes. It's now or never." Via followed him to the door, and I never got the chance to answer her question. I don't know what I would have said anyway. I wasn't sure what the answer was. Okay, so that was that chapter. So why do you think Miranda did that? Why do you think Miranda faked sick to have Via replace her? Do you think it was a nice move? Do you think it was a bit of a foolish move? What do you think about it? Personally, I think, Miranda looked in the audience. She saw she had nobody there. She saw that Via had everybody there, her family, her boyfriend was there, and she did it for Via. And it's really sad that, Miranda didn't have anyone there. So I personally think she did it for Via. She loves Via and she wanted her to have this. That's personally what I think. You might think something different. The next chapter is called The Performance, and it is on page 246. I watched the rest of the play from the wings of the offstage, just next to Davenport. Justin was amazing, and Via in that breathtaking last scene was awesome. There was one line she flubbed a bit, but Justin covered for her, and no one in the audience even noticed. I heard Davenport muttering under his mouth, "Good, good, good." He was more nervous than all of the students put together. The actors, the set directors, the lighting team, the guy handling the curtains. Davenport was a wreck, frankly. The only time I felt any regret, if you could even call it that, was at the end of the play when everyone went out for their curtain calls. Via and Justin were the last of the actors walking out on stage, and the audience rose to their feet and took their bows, as they took their bows. That, I admit, was a little bittersweet for me. But just for a few minutes later, I saw Nate and Isabel and Auggie making their way backstage, and they all seemed so happy. Everyone was congratulating the actors, patting them on the back. It was that crazy backstage theater mayhem where sweaty actors stand euphoric while people come and worship them for a few seconds. In that crush of people, I noticed Auggie looking kind of lost. I cut through the crowd and I came up behind him. "Hey," I said, "Major Tom." Okay, next chapter, that one was really short, is called After the Show on page 247. I can't say why I was so happy to see August there after so long, or how good it felt when he hugged me. "I can't believe how big you've gotten," I said to him. "I thought you were going to be in the play," he said. "I wasn't up to it," I said, "but Via was great, don't you think?" He nodded. 2 seconds later, Isabel found us. "Miranda," she said happily, giving me a kiss on the cheek, and then to August, "Don't ever disappear like that again." "You're the only one who disappeared," Auggie answered back. "How are you feeling?" Isabel said to me. "Via told us you got sick." "Much better," I answered. "Is your mom here?" said Isabel. "No, she had work stuff, so it's actually not a big deal for me," I said truthfully. "We have 2 more shows anyway, though I don't think I'll be as good as Emily. I won't be as good an Emily as Via was tonight." Nate came over and we basically said the same thing. Then Isabel said, "Look, we're going to have a late night dinner to celebrate the show. Are you feeling up to joining us? We'd love to have you." "Oh no," I started to say. "Please," said Auggie. "I should go home," I said. "We insist," said Nate. By now, Via and Justin had come over with Justin's mom, and Via put her arm around me. "You're definitely coming," she said, smiling her old smile at me. They started leading me out of the crowd, and I have to admit, for the first time in a very, very long time, I felt absolutely happy. Okay, so that was Miranda's part. It was a very short part. Now we're on to Auggie's part again, and I think that ends the book. But I am not going to read that now because I'm getting on to about the 23-minute mark. So what are your thoughts on Miranda, and how have they changed with the addition of her perspective? Because before we kind of heard about Miranda, we heard that she was acting distant and upset, and she was different, and she was kind of ignoring Via. But now we might have a better reason as to why she was doing that. You know, her parents divorcing, and she didn't really want Via asking about it, and she knew Via cared about her and probably would ask about it. So how have your thoughts toward Miranda changed? You can just think about it in your head, but have they changed? Have they gotten better? Have they stayed the same? For me personally, I feel for Miranda a lot more, and I think what she did by allowing Via to have that spotlight, that center of attention that she wanted and she needed and she's never really had, was such a big thing of Miranda to do. It was a hard thing for her to do. She said she was ready, she knew her lines, she was excellent, but she let her have it anyway. And that was really big of Miranda, I think. So I feel for her a lot more. What do you think? And then, like I said, next part is going to be August's part 8. And that will end the book. So I will either do 1 or 2 more videos. It really depends. Probably 2 more videos, and that'll be it. So curious how it's going to end, but I really, really love the book. So I'm sure it will have a great ending because the whole book's been really great. So have a great rest of your day. Go outside. It's so nice and warm out. I love this weather. It's really reminding me of summer. It's finally here. So have a great rest of your day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you in the next video.